New respiratory illness known as COVID-19, caused by the novel coronavirus, was first detected in the central Chinese city of Wuhan. Within the first 5 weeks of the outbreak, tens of thousands of people were infected and more than 1,000 died. The outbreak has been categorized as a public health emergency by the World Health Organization. Not surprisingly, the virus is having economic impacts throughout the world. Major companies like Apple, Starbucks, and McDonald's closed stores in China, and airlines around the world have canceled flights to and from the region. On January 31, 2020, the Dow dropped more than 2% during the day coronavirus fears, wiping out all gains for the month of January. However, the U.S. stock market seemed to quickly recover, hitting new all-time highs on February 12 even as the virus continued to spread. It's not clear how much the virus will impact U.S. investors, but the effect could go deeper than just retail and travel, hitting a sector and industry you might not expect like energy, automotive, and banking. Taking a look at these potential impacts can help you prepare your portfolio for a possible market turbulence. As the world's biggest importer of oil, China is a major player in the energy sector. The Lunar New Year typically leads to an increase in demand jet fuel and gasoline. Instead, the demand for oil in China dropped 20% in the weeks immediately after the outbreak, and the price crude oil dropped about 16% between the outbreak and early February. This is putting some strain on American companies. China but doesn't much oil from America. Exporters roughly 2% of export, but oil prices are set on global level, so lower price means lower profit. Companies like ExxonMobil and Chevron saw a share price drop in the first 6 weeks of 2020. At least one firm has downgraded its look on oil from bullish to neutral, and it says a future downgrade may be in the future. While a number of factors impact oil price like supply, demand, and global politics. Lower demand, driven by coronavirus, could increase pressure on the energy sector. The coronavirus is also slowing down many automakers. Dozens of car makers across the world work with the Chinese suppliers to produce parts for their vehicle. But many of those shops have closed as a part of mandatory quarantines. This could result in some plant closures. For example, Fiat Chrysler has warned that some European plants may close if the interruption to its supply chain continues. In addition to supply chain disruption, automakers may also face decreased demand. One analyst told the Financial Times that China faced a traumatic next few months, suggesting people might even delay buying cars. The high level of pressure of China's suppliers and customers could add risks to automotive securities. While there may be several factors at play, many major manufacturers have seen steep declines in share price since the outbreak became widely reported. Banking is another industry that facing uncertainty with the coronavirus. In recent decades, U.S. and Chinese economies have become increasingly interviewed, so U.S. companies often turn to banks to fund their expansion into China. Growth in China has been stalling in recent years, down from hike of around 14% in 2007. Some analysts predict coronavirus could slow growth even more, around 3.7%. If growth slows future, U.S. bank could feel the strain. According Moody, lower economic growth could lead to lower demand for loans and Americans and equities, meaning potentially weaker earnings for banks. With all uncertainty, consider having a plan to hedge your portfolio against risks. For example, some investors might use exchange trade funds, options, or future contracts as a part of their hedging strategy. You can also look at what sector you are invested in and make sure your holdings are diversified enough to withstand any turbulence. Either way, consider your ideal risk and return parameter and set a clear exit strategy in case you are wrong. Most importantly, keep your eyes on the longer-term trends. As of mid-February 2020, stocks were still near all-time highs. Corporate earnings were still growing, and the Federal Reserve made it clear it would support markets with accommodative monetary policy. Ultimately, we don't know how the economy will react to his long term. But we don't know that more than 14 companies have talked about coronavirus in their first quarterly earnings call of 2020. Being aware of the potential sector and industry impacts of the coronavirus can help you prepare your portfolio. As always, decompress the headlines and look at sources like earnings, analyst reports, and feed statements to help connect the dots of how major global events can impact the markets. Thank you.